Hi, everyone. Welcome back to another amazing episode on the Unleashing Potentials podcast. My name is Bernadette Desir, and I'm your host. And joining me today is Regina Roberti. How are you?
I'm great. How are you?
I'm fantastic. So, where about are you? Where in the world are you?
I'm in the US. I'm in Florida, South Florida. Nice and
Oh,
sunny and hot here.
oh, I wish. It's sort of sunny here, but yeah, like with this, I can't wait to go out today because I need a thin layer of sweater to put on. But that's nice.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you like the hot
Yeah.
weather?
Um, for the most part, yes. When I first moved to Florida, I was like infatuated with the sun, the heat. I was okay, but I was also 21. I've been here since
Yeah.
20 years now, actually this year. And after I had my kids, I started to question my choices, but I'm happy I'm
Yeah.
here. I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be. My kids get to play and swim all the time, and so they're really
Yeah,
fortunate
that's
with the weather.
awesome. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. Welcome to the podcast. So happy to have you.
thank you. I'm excited to be here.
Yes, yes. So, Regina, can you start by telling us who you are and what you do?
So, I am a certified holistic health coach, and I am a licensed trainer of advanced conversational hypnosis.
Mhm.
So with my private clients, I work with them through questionnaires, finding out what their problems are. And instead of me telling them what they need to do, I allow them to ask me questions and I give them my expertise on those questions. But I also am looking for where their limitations for themselves are. So
Mhm.
I utilize their own intrinsic or natural ability to make the right choices for them. Because if they make the choices versus me telling them something to do, they're more likely going to go forward and do what they need to do. So I've had really great success with that with my clients, very happy clients. Um, and I utilize advanced conversational hypnosis if a client is stuck somewhere. So if they're stuck in some kind of conflict between what they want to do
Mhm.
and what they're not doing, I utilize my background in hypnosis to help them move through that problem quickly
Mhm.
and get past that paradox that they're stuck in so that they can make better choices for themselves that they're going to actually follow through with and make habits a lifestyle. On the flip side, I am a licensed trainer of advanced conversational hypnosis. So I work with professionals in the mental health and wellness industry, get those quick results with their clients as well, whatever type of coaching or hypnotherapy or if they're psychiatrists or psychologists, any field where they're working with people on traditional, and kind of out there issues that clients are struggling with. It could even be in the spiritual realm. If they have somebody that they're struggling to get past a certain point with, um, they can utilize ACH to work through these problems quickly and get their clients epic results and multiple outcomes.
Mhm. Oh, I love that. There's so much to unpack. And I love
Yeah.
the power in what you do because I always say professionals need help too because they're human and they have one of the hardest jobs, especially in the healthcare system and even police and whatnot, right? I'm
Yeah.
so happy you help those guys because I need them here.
Yeah,
I
we do
need
need
them.
them.
We all need them. Yeah. Yeah. Let's get to know you a little bit. Did you always wanted to do the job that you're doing right now?
I had no idea that I was going to end up here. I, you know, full disclosure, I didn't have a great influence growing up in the household that I grew up in. I have eight brothers and sisters. My parents were always like super hard workers, but they never really had business sense.
Mm.
So I just kind of went from bartending or waitressing job to job in that way. And when I moved to Florida after I graduated with my associates in communication and media arts back in when I was 21,
Mhm.
I was trying acting. I was working the biker circuit. I was bartending and go-go dancing, and I was just kind of wilding out. Fast forward, I ended up in a relationship with a police officer, And he had a lot of people he knew in both the education industry and also dental assisting. So I ended up in the dental assisting industry, and I wasn't really like, I loved it. It was arts and crafts. I've always been good with my hands, but it was a very stressful environment. And I was like, I really don't want to stay here for much longer. So I found massage therapy and I moved to South Florida so that I could go to school. And that's been 14 and a half years already.
Oh, wow.
So yeah, so I've been in the body work industry licensed, and I've had a business since 2018, 19 with my husband, who I've been with since school.
Mhm.
And physiologically, like my body was starting to not like bending over people, doing the therapy. My hands were hurting, my neck and back was hurting.
Mhm.
So I was already starting to look into something different. Like, what can I do
Mhm.
that's going to make me be able to still work with people, because I believe that I was put here to help people shift out of hard lives into easier going lifestyles
Mhm.
through my experience with my personal clients. And I saw a connection between the mind and body, that you can't have one issue without the other, like they go hand in hand. So I looked into like the coaching industry, and I was looking at self-sabotage coaching,
Mhm.
and I got certified in that. That led me to hypnosis. Hypnosis was going fantastic, but I was struggling with the whole process of it. It was a very long and drawn out process, and I have no patience. I wanted, I wanted fast results for myself personally, because I was dealing with some mental health stuff
Mhm.
and physical health stuff. And I also wanted my clients to have fast results. And so I found advanced conversational hypnosis. So I just kind of like fell from one thing, like tumbled from one thing into the next, just in the process of asking myself, where am I supposed to be? Who am I supposed to be helping? What should I be doing? And I found that I'm really, really good at this work, working with the mind and having it impact the body, the emotions, the spirit, everything is connected. So it's just, for me, it's like a well-rounded career.
Mhm. Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah. I love hearing that you already knew and still know the sense that everything is connected, because
Yeah,
very often we dismantled and separate the different categories of our bodies when really it's connected. If you work
yeah,
with the mind, you need to work with the heart, the body, and everything else. Yeah.
yeah.
Can you share with us your journey or experience with mental health?
Yeah, so um, when I first started dating my husband, I was just coming out of like a lot of let's say home trauma. Like I still had all this residual stuff that I hadn't taken care of from growing up, my childhood. And so, and then, I've never really been like a serial dater. Like I've always been kind of a monogamist. So the relationships that I did have with the three people prior to him, I've always been very self-aware mentally, like in my head, about lessons and experiences, and looking at my dating life with those people and what those experiences created within me, as far as like self-protection mechanisms and what I was looking for in the next relationship, what I was trying to avoid versus what I was trying to gain.
Mhm.
And so, starting the dating process with him was kind of turbulent, because I was letting go of a lot of struggles and a lot of trauma that occurred in those relationships, and a lot of things that I came to believe about myself or about people in general, and the pain that people cause. He was so, I don't know, accommodating. He allowed me to vent and kind of get stuff out, but I wasn't settled. I wasn't like clear on things. And then 5 years into our relationship, I had children, and I was still not quite right. And I was scared to death of raising children based on my experience growing up.
Mhm.
I always said to myself, like, I don't want to have kids. I don't want to mess them up like my parents messed me up, right? And when I had them, I went into a severe postpartum depression to the point of psychosis, where I became suicidal.
Mhm. Mhm.
And fortunately, having the self-awareness that I was talking about a minute ago, I knew that I was in a bad place and I needed to get out. I knew that I didn't really want to do anything, but I felt desperate in that moment of the fear around parenting and the psychological aspect of things.
Mhm.
So I kind of found ways to get myself out of that psychosis, but I still had postpartum for about 5 years. I don't know why it stuck around that long, but it was really motivating for me to try to find something
Mhm.
to understand myself better or get rid of it. And so first I started looking into health, like maybe this is I'm missing something, maybe this is a nutrition deficiency, maybe I'm lacking something and maybe I need to eat a certain way. And so that was like, I'd already been introduced into the health realm with the massage therapy aspect of things. So I started looking into diet, going vegetarian and then veganism, but then I fortunately had this amazing product fall into my lap called um,
Mhm.
it's a nutraceutical, it's an herbal blend. And within a week of taking it, I had popped out of the depression, the fog, the lack of clarity, the mood swings. Within a week, I started to feel like a totally different person. And that was around the time I was doing the coaching and the hypnosis stuff, the getting into courses and going to school. And so my struggle with mental health and physical health, it wasn't a very long one compared to a lot of people because I'm an information seeker. I always look for educational things to like better myself.
Mhm.
And so that helped me kind of move through that stuff quickly, but it also helped me to see um, what I'm prone to and how I need to maintain myself and self-care and nutrition and food and how all those things were so important to my health, which is why I also got into the health industry.
Mm, that's awesome. Yeah, I want to honor your bravery and the healing that you've done, and for also for speaking out for so many women who continues to deal with postpartum depression because it's real. It's
It's real.
real, it's serious, and it impacts not only us, but those around us, which includes our
Yeah.
kids. What would you say to those who are struggling right this minute, right now, with postpartum?
I would say look into the deficiencies of your body. Find a way because what people don't realize is when we have children, I breastfed for 4.5 years. So I was giving so much of my body to my children that I was depleting myself and I was not taking care of myself
Mhm.
emotionally, physically. I was not doing the self-care. I was home alone with them. I don't have family here in Florida. And my husband was always working like hours and hours to pay the bills. And
Mhm.
so being alone was a big deal. Not having people around that I could have that like sense of community with was a big issue. And also the self-care aspect of things, like make sure you're eating right, make sure that you're looking into different ways to reduce your oxidative stress. Oxidative stress comes from the depletion of all of these nutritional things like vitamins, minerals, etc., that we're missing from our body. And a lot of people don't know when they're pregnant and they get what is it called? They get like the morning sickness, which can be like all day. That is actually there's
Yeah.
actually a big
Mhm.
attachment to sorry, my brain is frying right now.
Oh, no, it's okay.
What is it called? Calcium, magnesium. So magnesium deficiency can create a lot of issues with those types of symptoms. So
Mhm.
if you're missing magnesium and that's one of the symptoms that's gone, then think about what's happening after you've had your kids. Now that your kids are no longer in you and feeding off of you and like you're giving them life, how
Mm.
how are you taking care of yourself to replenish all of those things that you've lost?
Yeah.
So postpartum can not just be like an emotional aspect of things, but it can be a nutritional deficiency that we don't necessarily consider because we're like, oh, I'm eating food, I'm drinking water,
Mhm.
like I should be fine. But
Mm.
our food is not as great as it used to be. So you could be lacking a lot of things that your body needs to get away from that
Mhm.
I think a
Mm,
lot of what our body is trying to tell us ends up in an emotional sense. Like we have an emotional response to it that we don't necessarily know is happening. So I would say look at that. That's like the first thing. Make sure you're getting enough nutrition. But if you've done that and you're doing all the right things there, but you're still dealing with postpartum, I would next look into the beliefs that you have that might be underlying the feeling that you have, because mine was heavily connected to I'm never going to be a good enough mother.
mm. Yeah, mine
You
too.
know, because I come from that. So
Yeah.
how do I know better to do better? You know, there are all these like underlying subconscious fears that I had to release in order to also let that aspect of myself go as well.
Yeah, yeah.
So long-winded explanation of what to do, but yeah, I think there's so many different things that we miss that we don't necessarily know what to do or what information to seek. So I think, those are my two things that I would always tell. Make sure you have a community of people around you. Don't do it alone if you can help it. And check your nutrition and check
Yeah,
check what's happening underneath, because this is just the PPD is just a symptom.
yeah,
It's a symptom of something underlying that we haven't been able to figure out yet. So if you can figure what that is, you'll pop out of PPD no problem.
yeah, yeah, I agree. Yeah, I can definitely relate to when you shared you didn't, I don't know if you still have not have family there or not. I
Mm,
still don't have families where I am. I have a
yeah,
small community, but it's the guilt thing I have to still work through. I'm gonna
it's
lay
hard.
all my mess on someone else's mess when they have their own life, their own stuff to go through. I thought I was gonna die. Like flat line.
Wow.
I did because I had C-section with my son. He
Oh
was
my
in the
God.
NICU and I was in emerge because my blood pressure was just off the
Dropped.
roof. It was really bad. And then
Was it high or low?
it was very low.
Okay,
Yeah,
yeah.
both of my kids, it was emergency C-section. There was no waiting. It's
Oh
happening
my God.
now. It's happening now. If it doesn't happen now, both of you may not be here, or one of you may not be here. That's the kind of stuff I went through. And then I came home with a C-section. I didn't have help. I was by myself. I was
Yeah.
limping around, climbing the stairs. Like I was so
You're
sleep.
supposed to be resting, but you couldn't even do that.
No,
Yeah,
I was so sleep deprived. It
that
was so
too.
bad. Yeah, yeah, it was so bad.
That was so, yeah, I think the sleep deprivation, like of all the things, because sleep is so important, we need sleep to actually heal properly at the cellular level. I was awake every hour and a half for the whole 4.5 years I breastfed. Like my kids would not sleep, and I felt like I was going insane. And finally, I was like, you know what? I would love to continue to breastfeed for another year and a half, because I know this is crazy, but I did breastfeed my first son until he was about 4, not as
Mm,
much as like when he was 1 to 2. But I would have loved to do that with my second born. And I said to myself, it's either them or me. Like it can't be both anymore.
yeah,
And
yeah.
I need to sleep and they need to sleep in their own beds. And I was co-sleeping. And it was like I created such a mess for myself on so many levels, but I was just trying to do the what I thought was right. I think I was overcompensating because I thought I was going to be such a terrible parent. And then I just did all of the things that wore me down to the point of like almost no return. So I totally feel you.
Yeah, yeah. I've had psychosis before too. I have,
Wow.
well, I'm diagnosed with schizophrenia now, which is a touch out from psychosis. But
Yeah.
yeah, my body crashed. For so
Yep.
long I ignored it, and I don't know, I found myself in psych wards. And
Yeah.
I found myself in cardiac unit then. I was really awake after that.
I'm
And
sure.
now I don't mess with my sleep. My kids know we go by routine and schedule. Do you follow a routine as well? What is it like for you?
Yeah, it has to be done. um, has to be done. I mean, my one son just turned 8 last week, and my
Oh,
other one is going to be 10. So like we're past a lot of that.
yeah.
And fortunately, they sleep fantastic now, but I've run them out. Like I make sure that
Yeah.
they're burnt out by the end of the night. We live in a, fortunately last year we moved to a really great neighborhood And my youngest son, who has the most energy I've ever seen than any other kid in this
Yeah.
world, he just runs around outside for 2, 3, 4 hours just
Yeah.
with all the neighbors' kids. And by the time bedtime comes around, he's pooped, he's ready to go. But every night they're in bed by like 9 o'clock.
Hmm.
And they wake up on their own in the morning, but they let me sleep. They know don't wake mom up before 8 o'clock
Yeah.
unless I have to get up for something. I'm like, leave me alone. I will feed you when I get up. We will do homeschool when I get up. We will do
Yeah.
all the things that I need to do when I get up. But I
Mhm.
need to rest because I work late at night too. I work about 2 or 3 hours later than they go to sleep.
Oh, wow.
So yeah. So when you homeschool, you gotta kind of make your hours a little bit different. But
Mhm.
yeah, they're on a schedule. I think they're on a pretty, it's not, we're not like stringent or anything like that, but they're on a schedule enough to where life doesn't feel so chaotic anymore.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Without a schedule, I can't function. So
Yeah. How old are
I just
yours?
can't. My son just turned 7 and I have a 14-year-old.
Oh, that's a big jump. Wow.
Yeah, I was a teen mom.
Holy crap. Okay. No wonder why you were stressed out and not sleeping.
Oh yeah, 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 it was fun. Yeah. Yeah, let's talk a little bit about self-care. What does that mean to you and how do you practice it and apply it in your life?
I think for everybody, self-care is different, right? So, like, what are the things that you do to make yourself feel good? And for me, it's sleeping. Sleeping is like a big priority for me, as we just talked about. Going to the gym or exercising is a must for me because when I'm not working out, all the energy that, like the pent up energy and frustration that you can have as a parent just
Mhm.
stays inside of me. And like it's almost explosive. If I can't let it out in a positive way,
Yeah.
that's a problem, a really big problem for everybody, including my relationship with their father.
Mhm.
And so for me, I for the first time joined a martial arts, Brazilian martial arts called capoeira.
Mhm.
And I do that 2 to 5 times a week. And it kicks my butt. Like it calms me down. It makes me
Mhm.
feel physically really good. The community there is excellent. They all are very supportive and loving and helpful with each other. So if you ever needed anything, you just reach out and people are there. So that's been a huge for me being alone here with no family. So
Mhm.
finding that community, my son is in it. My other son is joining next week. He's moving from karate to capoeira.
Mhm.
And so like we're going to be a family that just is involved with this community. So there's things that I do to, those are the biggest things, sleep and community. Everything else is I do what I have to do and I had to change my perspective on it. So my form of self-care is getting ACH sessions with a colleague of mine. She gets them for me, I get them for her, and every year we trade as many times as we need to get ourselves in a place on different subjects that we want to be as far as success or healing or getting rid of like old traumas and things like that. So we help each other move through our problems quickly.
Mm.
So for me, those three things, those are key. They're so important.
Mhm. Yeah, and I love that you and your friend are helping each other.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's been a wild ride. Wild ride.
Yep, I believe you.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, that's awesome. And holistic health.
Yeah.
Um, what are some misconceptions that you've heard when it comes to holistic health?
Hmm. I don't know. There's so many different opinions out there. Holistic just means like involving the mind, body, and spirit. Like you can't fix one without the other. So I
Yeah.
always tell people it doesn't matter how many times you go to the gym or how much healthy food you eat. If your mind isn't right, it does not matter
Hmm.
because everything starts here. Everything
Yeah.
starts in the subconscious. It starts in childhood when we create our beliefs about things, our fundamental beliefs that are with us for our whole life. If
Hmm.
you don't get a hold of those things and you don't reorganize them so they're beneficial to you, you're not going,
Hmm.
it doesn't matter how much you try to do the other things, everything else will eventually crumble with one thing that you're exposed to, or one thing that happens, or one traumatic experience, or one event can just knock it all out. And what I mean by this, and a lot of you've probably experienced this, is you say you're going to go to the gym right? And you
Yeah.
start off, and for 2 weeks, you're great, but then all of a sudden, your kid gets sick. And it's the most simple
Yeah.
thing, but then you're not back in the gym, and it's 3 months later. What happened?
Yeah.
Right? So, unless you have the ability to change the subconscious
Mhm.
thinking, the comfortableness of being a certain way,
Yeah.
you're always going to end up in the same place over and over and over again.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, prior to my knowledge of holistic health, when I thought about it from what I was taught, was that it was against pills or medicine, which is not the case. I'm learning
Not
now.
entirely, no.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, for instance, I recently ended a coaching program with a client, and she was 72.
Mhm.
She was diagnosed with Lyme's disease about 5 years ago, and she couldn't get the help that she needed from the hospitals. They kept denying that she had it, and she had to go through a different type of doctor to actually get the test done. And when they finally diagnosed her, she went to a specialist, and the specialist tried to put her on a million pills, but her stomach
Mhm.
couldn't handle that.
Mhm.
So she was afraid to take anything. She was afraid to go back to the hospitals and do anything. She was like, nobody can help me. And her husband was like, I'm worried about her.
Mhm.
So through the process which I use, I did a questionnaire with her in person, and I was like, all right, this is, I need to know this information from you. And then I
Mhm.
need to know like what you're willing to do. Like on
Mhm.
a scale of 1 to 10, how likely are you to do XYZ? And she was very determined to feel good, which was great because he was like, I don't even think she'll work with you, but hey, if she'll talk to you, then we're like one step closer, right? So this was like I don't even know if this is going to happen.
Mhm.
But towards the end of her coaching, she lost 12 pounds.
Wow.
Her stomach wasn't bothering her. Her IBS wasn't an issue. The neuropathy in her legs went away about 95, 98%.
Wow.
All of these different things were going on. She ended up getting blood labs, doctor, like she went to get an osteo scan to make sure she didn't have osteoporosis. And unfortunately, in a couple places in her body, she did. And the
Mhm.
doctor told her she was at high risk for a fall and breaking a hip.
Oh, wow.
And I said, listen, this is the holistic way route you can take, and you could do it in a line in side by side with the what the doctor is telling you. If you believe that that's the route you want to go with the doctor with this prescription medication for osteoporosis, then do it. But this is another method that you can add alongside it that won't interact with it. And so I gave her information. She went and bought products. And I told her keep exercising because that's how you make bone. When you're not exercising, you lose bone, you don't make it. So you have to be very active, especially at that age if you start to lose bone density.
Mhm.
So she called me and she was like, listen, I'm going to take what the doctor gave me. I said, that is fine. I said, but make sure that you get tested again in 6 months and that it's actually doing something.
Mhm.
A lot of those have side effects. If it doesn't, then great, but make sure that you're not just on this for no reason. I just recently spoke to somebody who was on osteo medication for 10 years, and then they told her, we have to take you off. You can't stay on it any longer. Well, why? If it's helping with osteoporosis, what makes
Yeah.
her not be able to continue to take it for that long? There has to be some kind of side effect. So I'm not against emergency medicine. Like my son broke his arm. We needed to give him a pain med. We had to get his arm braced,
Mhm.
and that was a whole process. But emergency medicine is one thing. But if you can heal and you can heal holistically,
Mhm.
that's more in alignment with our physical bodies, our cellular aspect of our health. So
Mhm.
that is what I promote. But I mean, I even take an ibuprofen every once in a while if I can't kick a headache in the natural way. I have to function. I run a household. I run 2 businesses. I still do massage therapy. Sometimes my back hurts, from
Yeah.
3 car
Yeah.
accidents that I got hit from behind. And, like I'm not against that medicine, but I'm not for long-term use of pharmaceuticals. They all have side effects. They all require you to be on a different type of medication to try and mitigate those side effects. And
Yeah.
then by the time you're done with them, you're on 3, 4, 5, 6, and your health is just waning and waning and waning.
Mhm.
And so if you can do it through food and plants and through like changing your diet and you get more physical activity, that is what I promote.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah, I'm on three medications, and I've been
Yeah.
questioning whether I should go back to see my doctors because I have brain fog. No one can tell. I have really, really bad brain fog. I'm always exhausted. It's so bad.
Mm,
And I have chronic pain as well. So
mm,
holistic approach is something I've been looking into. And
yeah.
I think I've been programmed. I know I'm not alone. I get programmed and reprogrammed by what the doctors are saying. Because if I don't do it, Lord have mercy, something's gonna happen. And it's the
Fear. Yeah.
fear they install in people. That's why it makes them a bit reluctant to go the other way.
You know what that's saying, like white coat syndrome, like people are afraid of doctors. Well, there's also like this white coat syndrome where we believe that everything the man in the white coat says is what we need to do. And a lot of the times, and I always say, like, you really have to be an advocate. You really have to have that self-awareness. Because when somebody's like, even a friend, if a friend is giving you advice and you just get this feeling in your stomach, you're like, no, that's not right.
Mhm.
You're not going to take it. But there's something about being in front of a doctor where you're like, well, they're the authority here. And the mind, the subconscious aspect of the mind grabs onto what authorities say and it goes with it, even if it's against its best interest. It's just the way that we're programmed, right?
Mhm.
So you really have to get good at your gut feeling.
Mhm.
And let's say listening to what your body and your mind is telling you. I have my beliefs about schizophrenia, but I also have my beliefs about physical pain
Mhm.
and where that comes from. And I in the work that I do and the hundreds and hundreds of clients that I've worked with, I see a very strong correlation between emotional pain and physical pain. I see a
Mhm.
very strong correlation with schizophrenia and dissociating from those emotions because you haven't been able to have the right tools to help yourself get away from those feelings or change the belief around the feelings which are causing the symptoms. So
Yeah.
the symptom is schizophrenia, the symptom is the physical pain. What is underlying that is causing those things to manifest in a physical form, in
Mhm.
the pain sense, or in the sense where you have to you
Mhm.
have that fear. So schizophrenia is a very fear-based mental disorder, right? What they
Yes, it
call it.
is. Yeah.
So if you're fearing for your life, for your whole life, and this is an irrational thing, where does
Mhm.
that come from? When did it start?
Mhm.
What's causing it? What do you believe about yourself?
Mhm.
And why did this fear manifest into a physical symptom,
Oof.
right?
Yeah.
So digging, that's what I do. I dig. I help my clients dig. I help professionals dig better with their clients so that they can get better results with their people. Because I don't believe personally, my opinion is that anything that we have
Mhm.
is something that we can't heal within ourselves
Mm. Yeah. Yeah. Thank
if
you
we
for
have the
sharing.
right guide.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing. Yeah. Yeah. Um, that's why I advocate for mental health.
Yeah.
Because I've talked to people, they're like, "You're schizophrenic? No way." Like, well, apparently that's what I'm labeled as. So, right?
Yeah, we'd have to talk about how those symptoms got diagnosed, because that's,
Mhm.
I mean, do you have symptoms of schizophrenia that actually like come out?
I
Like
haven't for
where do
years
they
and
show
years.
up?
Oh, they started when I was going to university. I was taking full five classes, two jobs, and a kid, raising a kid.
Mm,
I would
yeah,
definitely say literally almost everything I've experienced up to this day is rooted from my childhood. The
of course,
abandonment, attachment issues, trust, and
where the fear comes from.
yeah, all that's where it's all from. That
Yeah,
I'm still terrified to do any child work. There's something
really.
stopping me from doing it. Yeah.
Well, let's put it this way.
Hmm.
Your fundamental programs from when you were a child, all those beliefs that came into being were the ones that helped you survive. So they're not a bad thing.
Hmm.
A lot of people believe that our trauma from our childhood and the way that it manifests is a bad thing, but it's not. It actually is our compass as to how to get out of this space of being under the guidance and the control of an adult, where I have zero say in my life, what I do and what I experience. They're in control of all those things. How do I get from here to being an adult and surviving? How do I go from that young childhood into like being a teenager and that experience, and then into adulthood where I'm taking care of myself and no longer need those people to take care of me? So we create our own safety programs. We create our own survival programs that get us to a certain point. Now, yes, the schizophrenia manifested maybe from there, but why does your mind believe that it still needs it now when you are no longer in that environment that created those beliefs, those systems in the first place? So the only reason why you're afraid to do any of that work is because those are the things that kept you alive. Those are the things that made you survive. Those are the things that got you here. So your mind still believes that they're worth having, because the unconscious payoff is of having it is better than not having it. At least that's what it believes. So if you were to do that work with somebody, because schizophrenia is one of those things we're told in hypnosis that we cannot work with. I don't know why, but there are people, like I do know why, but there are people in other countries that are working with schizophrenia to the point of healing it, because they can, because their country doesn't block them from doing it. And so, of course, in the United States or wherever people are, like there are different laws and stuff that as health people in the health industry, we have to abide by. But I don't believe that you can't move past this diagnosis and change the way that you fear things into actual positive things at some point in your life. But that would, but that's a personal choice, right? That's a personal, for you, it would be your place to take that journey into, why do I have this? What is keeping me here? Why do I have these symptoms? How can I get rid of it? That's your own personal. But if you have an underlying fear base, right, of I need this. And if I don't have this, I'm scared to death of not having this. I'm never going to let this problem go. Right. And so that's a very personal journey of finding somebody who you can work with, that you trust. Because for me, remember I said I have a person that I work with every year, all year long with. I never trusted anybody else before to actually get me results, because I was way too afraid to be vulnerable enough to let go of the stuff that happened to me, those safety and survival programs that I put in place that got me here where I am today. And I had to be vulnerable enough to tell her, I trust you enough to get me past this, even if it hurts.
Oof. You mentioned vulnerability. I think we protect our pain at all costs because that's what we're used to. So why change it? Because change is so hard.
Yeah, the mind loves what is familiar, even if the familiar is not good for us. And it's very afraid of the unfamiliar. These are very tribal mind beliefs. Like, this is when we first became humans, like these were survival instincts and they've never actually evolved. It's the only aspect of our body that has not evolved over this many centuries, decades, whatever, so it's just really interesting to see how in the modern world we have those very old programs still kicking and thriving. And what's really crazy is, unless something comes into our life that we're so afraid of, that makes us want to change the old programs, like, we're not going to do it. We're not going to do it on our own.
Yeah, that's true. And I think also sometimes, if not all the time in society, when someone has what I have or what other people have, or whoever's listening, what they have, is that there's this reprogramming and re-beliefs, if I may put it that way, of that something is wrong with them. Therefore, they're broken. They can never be fixed or changed. And I'm like,
I don't believe that.
I've
seen way too many miracles.
Yeah.
I'm a miracle. You know,
Oh, me too.
I've seen way too many miracles in old beliefs being able to be changed into new beliefs, but not through me doing anything, through
Mm,
me just allowing my client to just
mm,
conversational hypnosis is asking the right questions to allow the client to get to a place where they can change their own mind about their own belief.
mm. Yeah, 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 I love
So
that.
I'm not doing anything. You're doing all of the stuff that you need to do because you've decided that you're ready to change no matter what the experience, right? People won't change unless they're scared enough to change, which
Mhm.
is sounds like the opposite, right? You're like, I think I'm too afraid to actually do the inner child work because I think something doesn't happen. But what if the fear of your future and staying the same was greater than
Mhm.
the fear you have of change?
Mm. Yeah, yeah.
So you have to get to that place where you're like, I can't live this way anymore.
Mhm. I agree. Yeah, yeah, definitely. Yeah. Can you tell us more about your master classes?
Yeah. So a few times a year, I train the professionals in the mental health and wellness industry how to do this work with their clients. It's called School, Skool. And I have this program where I have students. I just launched it in February. So I'm late on students,
Mhm.
but I have masterclass weekends. So I teach for 2 days.
Mhm.
And then I put those recordings into the school program, and you can watch the old ones that have been recorded. You can watch the new ones. It's a one-time buy-in.
Mhm.
And then in the future, every time I have that masterclass, you can come. So you can make it so that you can be there. If you can't be there, you just catch up on the recordings.
Mhm.
In the group, you post questions, scenarios, you get help with your clients, you can work one-on-one with other students practicing your craft, making sure that you're hitting all the principles of ACH and
Mhm.
asking the right questions to create this deep dive into the subconscious so you can help the client break out of their belief systems, their
Mhm.
conscious to unconscious complex, which are basically our paradoxes or our contradicting beliefs, right? Like I want to lose weight, but I can't lose weight. Like I don't want to lose weight because I might be unsafe, right? The mind might think if I lose weight, I'm easier to attack, right? Because maybe when they were younger, they were attacked while they were little. So
Yeah.
they've gotten bigger so that they're less likely a target, right?
Mhm.
So there's the unconscious belief that I'm safer when I'm big,
Mhm.
and there's the conscious belief as I need to be small. So
Mm.
I help the coaches and the professionals get to a place where they can bring those things forward from the client. Once the client is able to understand their unconscious perspective from a conscious perspective and know that it doesn't make sense anymore,
Mhm.
they can release that and let it go. And what that ends up doing is having multiple outcomes with their clients.
Mm.
So not only does it affect the problem, the symptom that they come in with, but it also fixes anything else that is remotely related to that. So
Mhm.
you see a literal life transformation with your clients. And so I teach you, I guide you, I mentor you. I have monthly Q&As
Mhm.
where we get to deep dive into what you're struggling with when working with your clients. And so this is a lifetime thing. You join and you never have to join that program again. And
Mhm.
then in the future, once you get ACH under your belt and you feel super comfortable with it, I have a master's of ACH, which shows you how
Oh,
to ask better questions
yeah.
to actually get faster results with your clients. So I've seen people have 20-minute epic breakthroughs. I've personally had a 46-minute breakthrough with a client on an issue that was a lifelong issue. So yeah, like like this
Mhm.
is sped up, you
Mhm.
know, sped
Yeah.
up results.
Yeah. 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 That's awesome. Um, so you work with professionals. Do you work with regular people like me or
Yeah,
anyone
so
else
if
who's watching?
yeah, definitely. So if you could be a hairstylist and want to have that, because ACH is just a better way to communicate with people around you so that you understand them more. And it changes the way that it just changes the way that you think.
Mhm.
It's helped me communicate better with my partner. It's helped me get out of my own way on the emotional level and be more objective in conversations. It's helped me to release a lot of struggles that I have in personal relationships, like in my interpersonal relationships with family and friends. Um, allowing myself to be more human and more vulnerable. ACH has done me such a solid
Mhm.
in on a personal level, and then it's done even more for me as far as communication with people, trying to understand what their needs are and why they can't get there, because most people don't know how to fix their own problems, even though they're the ones who do it in the session.
That's true. That's really true. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, with the questions that people answers, would you say that's a method of journaling? It's a type
Journaling,
of,
no.
no, okay, okay. What
Like
is
what we're doing
journaling?
right now.
Okay, what is
Journaling,
journaling to you?
so I do feel that there is a subconscious aspect of like getting in touch with your subconscious mind when you're journaling, because you're able to, when you're journaling, it's like talking to another person, but on paper. So you're writing down like all of the deepest, darkest things, because you can be the most vulnerable with yourself before you're vulnerable with anybody else. So I think journaling can be really powerful. But once you get that information on paper, what do you do with it?
Mm,
How do you find solutions through what you wrote on the paper to end up in a different place than where you are now? So
mhm,
is journaling just a form of like venting subconsciously but not actually changing? Or do you find that when, like, if to the viewer or listener, if you're journaling and you reread your notes, are you finding solutions in those things that can help you change the way that you think? Are they making sense to you?
mhm,
Does what you just wrote actually, is it actually the truth? So depending on how you reread, I don't know. When I write in a journal, I don't necessarily go back and reread anything. I just, vomit my emotions in a book, and then I let that book stay somewhere. but
yeah.
but afterwards, like if you were somebody who rereads your entries into your journal,
Mhm,
how is that helping you move past your issues? A lot of people can't communicate conscious to unconscious with themselves. Journaling is a way to do that, but if you don't know how to do that properly, where you can actually help yourself, then I feel like you can fall flat. And like, what is it doing for you? Is it a good way to vent your problems, and does it make if you feel like you've had a relief?
mhm.
Or do you just keep writing the same thing over and over in your book, but you're not actually getting anywhere? So I guess it depends on the person. I don't think journaling is bad. I think it could be a very powerful tool if you know how to use it well.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, yeah. What are some key takeaways that you'd like anyone to get from this episode?
I think a lot of people think that they have to talk about their problems for a really long time, before they even get any kind of resolve. And what we've been learning and what we know about the mind and the way that it works now versus like even 20 years ago is so much more. And I don't believe that getting past your problems has to be as complicated and as painful as sitting in a room every week for 45 minutes, 50 minutes, talking about all the pain over and over and over again.
Mhm,
If you find somebody in the hypnosis industry that can help you get to the subconscious root cause or core belief of why you have the problem, you're going to be able to work past that issue so much faster and actually enjoy your life a little bit more,
yeah.
right? So I think there's a lot of fear around hypnosis, but the type of hypnosis I do is not stage hypnosis. It's not traditional hypnosis where we're inducting you, we're regressing you, you're not reliving anything. You don't have any homework. There's no language patterns. I'm not using confusion techniques. I'm talking to you like you're a human. I'm listening to you, um, to your problems, and I'm showing you that I actually care
Mhm,
about what you're going through, but I'm not allowing you to stay there.
mhm,
I'm helping you move through those layers of problems
mhm,
where you can actually come out the other end of them as a different thinker, as in a different experience with that problems. You have more options, you have better resources for yourself. So
mhm,
I think if you're somebody who's been wanting help and looking for help, but you don't know that this exists,
mhm.
it does. And you don't have to be
Hmm.
in pain if you don't want to be anymore.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. Yeah. Yeah, and I think people want to be heard. They want to be understood. They want to be loved. We all want those things, but we're
Yeah.
afraid to get the help to allow that part of us to surface and come through and excel at life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of stigmas. I mean, I know a lot of people go into therapy and they have had fantastic help. It's changed their lives. But
Hmm.
for the people who are more resistant to that and haven't had that beneficial experience, it
Hmm.
doesn't mean that there's nobody out there that can actually help you. I just think that that modality did not work for you. That form of therapy was not it for you. You need something a little bit more pointed towards the issue.
Hmm.
Um, you need something that's a little bit more in depth. You just might be less able to be vulnerable with the person sitting across from you. But if you work with somebody who knows what they're doing, how to bypass that resistance, your results can be
Hmm.
pretty astounding.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah. I do hypnotherapy on myself.
That's awesome.
Yeah, yeah, and I've seen and heard, oh, if you're schizophrenic, you may not be able to do this meditation and seek
Mm-mm.
professional help. If I'm like, I
It's
am
another
my own
conclusion.
professional, and
Yeah.
since I've been doing them, I'm more calm. My anxiety's almost gone. I'm confident. I'm just centered, and I've never felt that way before.
You've
Yeah,
aligned yourself, mind,
yeah,
body.
yeah.
Yeah.
I went ahead and did it, and I've seen so many past. I don't know if you believe in all that spiritual stuff, past lives, and my third eye open. It's like oh, all of this was there. I could have had
Yeah.
access to it long time ago, and I
Yeah.
and I waited.
I've done past life regressions. They were unbelievable. I've done soul purpose and life purpose sessions. I've done in between. People wanted to know what was going on in the in between. Like, where am I in between this life and my last life?
Yeah,
And they've all been pretty spectacular sessions.
yeah.
I should be doing them more because they were so much fun.
You should.
But okay, maybe that's where I'll go. Right now, my specialty is sleep.
Mm.
I'm a sleep specialist. So, being somebody who didn't sleep for so long with kids, I hold that near and dear. And I've had pretty spectacular results with my clients in a very short period of time.
Mhm,
But, and I've worked with a lot of people with sleep issues and got them sleeping again.
mhm,
But there's such a love for like the spiritual aspect. I did psychic, like how to bring my psychic abilities forward. Like I've done all that stuff and it works. It works when you reconnect with that aspect of your mind, which,
mhm,
it's like its own little universe in there. And we have all this information and access to things that we don't necessarily have access to because we use so little of our brains.
mhm,
Um,
mhm,
when we're in a conscious and we're in the conscious mode. Um, but when we have access on information, the fact that you can do that yourself is
oh,
pretty amazing.
yeah,
It's pretty amazing
yeah.
because not too many people have that discipline or ability to quiet their mind enough to get there.
Mhm, mhm. Yeah.
So
Well,
that's great.
yeah, I was born open as a child, and I'm still seeing and experiencing things that are just they're in this world, but only few can see them or experience them. Yeah, yeah.
You have access to different dimensions.
Yeah, yeah. I've
Yeah.
traveled to different ones, and
Yeah.
yeah, that kind of helps with the label of schizophrenia. I'm like, no, no,
So
you
your
know,
label is an earthly label, right? It's the
it
ones
is.
that we label people to feel comfortable. But if you don't believe that that exists, then that label does not hold
Yeah.
any power over you, right? If you believe that your abilities are just a gift for you and it gives you access to things that people can't understand, there's zero wrong with that and there's no label necessary, you
Yeah,
know?
yeah, yeah,
But like they have you on medication for schizophrenia. Is that one of the three that you're
yeah.
on?
Oops, sorry.
Yeah.
They do. And it's putting a damper on what I can access actually.
Mm.
Yeah, it cuts the connection. I
Yeah.
feel more inward versus outward. Yeah, yeah, I'll be talking to my doctor and see how I can kind of reduce the meds, but they're not helping me access much. That's why I do
Yeah,
uh
they do block that.
yeah, I do all my past lives and meditation at night before bed and I fall asleep because that's when I can be quiet in the
And then you dream
I'm
crazy.
sleeping. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, because I'm sleeping and I just access different things. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
That's when you do your work.
Yeah. Apparently I've been astral traveling all my life. So I just find out 2, 3 years ago since my spiritual awakening. So it's
And
fast.
you said you're always tired and you always have brain fog, and it's maybe the connection is the fact that you're not really resting when you're resting.
Yes, that's true. It's
If
been
you're
happening
moving
for
so
a while.
much, yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
And I've heard that before with people who astral travel, that they're exhausted every morning they wake up because instead of resting their body and their mind, they're off flying around doing whatever else.
It's too exciting. I can't help
Yeah.
it. I don't know how to control it. I can't. Yeah,
That's so
yeah.
funny.
It's fun. Yeah. So I have two questions for you as we wrap up this fabulous episode, which I don't want to end, but time is not on my side today.
I can always come
Okay.
back.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. I'd love to have you. My first question is, what is the meaning of life for you?
That's a tough one. And it's something that I'm learning more and more that I do this work. And
Mm,
I'm finding that the more that I let go of control and I allow things to just be and not take things personally, the
mhm,
more I can enjoy life. I really feel like we're here to learn about ourselves. We're here to experience a whole wide range of emotions and pain and
mhm,
joy and elation. And I feel like at a certain point in my life, I lost the ability to do that, but I've
mhm,
through this work have been able to come back to that.
mhm,
And that for me is what this life is about. It's about helping people break away from their problems faster so that
mhm,
they can experience life in a much better, happier way, because that's all I've ever wanted my whole life.
mhm,
And so I feel like that's my calling,
mhm,
but also learning how to slow down, be patient, be in the moment, be present, are all very hard lessons for me because I want to go, go, go all the time. And I just want to move from one thing into the next very rapidly. And I'm learning that that's not the right way to do this experience either.
mhm,
So I think I've got a lot to learn about what life really is, but right now I'm just enjoying the experience that I'm having and the empowerment that comes along with it and the self-awareness and the balance that I'm being able to create through this experience.
mhm.
So, it's hard to say what life is really about, but
Yeah.
it's every day it's a little bit more of an experience, a little bit more allowing, and that's fine with me.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. Thank you for sharing. Last question. Where can my listeners find you, work with you, and support the work that you're doing?
Yeah, so my website is lifetransformationsolutions.com. All my social media accounts are there. Um, my nutraceutical products are there. My phototherapy patches are there. So you can go to my product recommendation page if you want to learn about the nutraceuticals that I took to help me get out of postpartum depression.
Mhm,
If you want to join my class, I have one course up right now for ACH because I'm not going to be hosting my mock class until towards the end of the year.
mhm,
My master class is June 21st and 22nd from 11 to 5 Eastern time.
mhm,
So don't miss getting a seat in there because I do limit it to 10 people every time I host the course. Um, just because I want to make sure that everybody has a very personalized experience when we do demonstrations and demo breakdowns and all that stuff while we're doing the master class. Um, let's see. If you want to work with me as a health coach client because you want to work more holistically, then you can also go to my website. I have Calendly links all over the place, and all you need to do is schedule your 45-minute complimentary strategy call with me, and we can see where you are, what your goals are, what you haven't been able to accomplish, what you want to accomplish. And if you feel comfortable working with me, we set up the contract, the payment, and we set the dates and we move forward.
Yeah. Yeah,
So
that's
that's
awesome.
pretty much it. Yeah.
Mhm.
If you have sleep issues, same thing. Get on the Calendly link. If you want to join my masterclass, just click on the link and make your payment, and I'll send you the contract, and we'll go from there.
Mhm. Well, awesome. Regina, thank you so much for your time. Thank you for all you do, and thank you for coming on the podcast to share.
Thank you, Bernadette. It was such a pleasure talking to you. And if you ever want me back, just say it. I'll be here.
I always want guests back.
All right.
Yes,
Very
yes.
good.
Thank you.
All right. Talk to you soon.
Yeah, bye.